Hello, my name is Jason Arnold, and this is um, Health Informatics course 645, and this is video blog number 4. And we're going to discuss the utilization of institutional review boards, and we were tasked with choosing a sample application and choosing 3 parts that we find the most interesting and kind of discuss those. I kind of chose 2 different actual applications, and I want to kind of talk about 2 parts from each one of them. So to be 4, I'll try to make this not too long and detailed. But first and foremost, with the institutional review boards, the most persistent element that they're going to have is they're going to be, the institution that's going to uphold the safeguards of any research that's going to be conducted, especially web-based research. Their job is to make sure that they identify the risk and they can determine the risk, and make sure that or ensure that the risk subjects are offered the opportunity to voluntarily accept or reject participation in a specific research, and they could be able to discontinue that risk at any point. So again, those safeguards that the institutional review boards utilize, again, just it's going to bring trust to the actual review process, and it's going to make sure that the integrity of the research is definitely utilized in the best way possible. 2 examples that I want to use. One was and I'm sorry for bringing my paperwork out. One was a social behavioral protocol application for Northwestern University, and it was really detailed, the way they utilize this application. But if I can go through it really quickly, I like how they utilize the purpose of the study, or the areas of multi-site usage. But on this one, the one that I like the most, the 2 parts that I like the most. Sorry if you hear the sound on this. If I can find it, one was the financial compensation. I like how they notated that, and they talk about describing any financial compensation that's going to be provided to the participants, and describe the payment method or how much money or gifts will be provided for the activities, as well as like the cost that participants may be responsible for because of the research provided. That was one, but the 2 I want to talk about the most, actually I'm giving you 3, was the provisions to protect the privacy and confidentiality of the participants and the research data. We talked about that and the safeguards that are going to have to take place to make sure that the individuals' identities are taking place. And we mentioned in class how they have I think it was DI. I don't think it was de-identification, but it was a way to kind of fragment the identification process so that the participants aren't easily identifiable in this process, and it makes it just a little bit more of, again, I hate to use the word safeguard too much, but it makes the safeguarding process of, again, understanding the patient's identity, or even being able to make an educated guess of to who the patient is. It makes it just a little bit more streamlined, and you can feel protected in that. Specifically, it says describe the steps that will be taken and protect the subject's privacy interests, and the privacy is going to refer to the person's desire to place limits on who they interact with or whom they provide professional information or personal information. I really like that provision in that protocol. It definitely, again, makes the process very, very confidential. I also like the data monitoring plan to ensure the safety of the participants. The safety is going to be a big question because you want to know the type of research utilized. Are they going to be testing on things like medication, or they're going to be testing on food or things of that nature, or they're going to be testing on things that they're going to be subjected to, maybe sounds or visual, or they're going to test their reaction to certain like I said, parameters or sensory things in the testing environment. So you want to make sure that the data monitoring of ensuring the patient's safety or the participant's safety is going to be at the forefront of that. So again, it talks about describing the plan to periodically evaluate the information collected regarding the risk and harms to determine whether a patient remains safe. Again, if you're collecting information on, let's say, depression or suicide data, you're going to want to know those things. So that was for Northwestern University, and that was a social behavior protocol. Wow, I said 5 minutes. But another one, really quick, that I want to talk about was one for Boise State as well, and it was an exempt protocol application. And I thought that was interesting because they had a checklist at the beginning, and if there was a yes to any one of the questions, that the application would not qualify for exempt review. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And this was that process right here. So they had a checklist that was going over things of, does the research involve focus groups, or does it require deception or incomplete disclosure information? I thought that was really, really critical. Talking about deception or incomplete disclosure. I can understand if it's a blind study or you want things to be, done to protect the integrity of the research, but deception and using it, that kind of comes into question. I'll kind of bring that up in just a second. If I can go through this really quickly. One was about the recruitment process. That was one I talked about. Well, not talked about, but that's one that I found interesting. It says, describe the recruitment process, include how, where, when, or who will contact potential research participants. That's going to be a crucial element, because if you have a person that's only going to one segment of the actual population, if you go into low income areas and you're getting people to test the effects of a certain drug, then that's going to kind of be some skewed data, and that will definitely hinder the research and as well as the integrity of the research. And that's not really, diving into the safeguards that, institutional review board would definitely try to uphold. And those risks would definitely would be enormous in that instance. So understand the recruitment process. That is definitely a big thing, because you have to understand about the recruitment, like the scripts that they're going to use. Are they going to tailor them to a specific demographic, or advertisement, or the emails and things of that nature? Because some people aren't internet savvy, so they may, that recruitment process is going to be really, really detailed. As well as when I talked about, they asked about the deception part. I thought that was kind of critical as well, because again, like I said, you want to understand. If I can go to it. Sorry about this. So unprofessional. Oh yeah, so they talked about the deception. Yeah, so it's right here. They talked about the deception or incomplete disclosure. Once again, other participants. Again, that's a safeguard that's definitely going to hinder any validity of the research. I just think that that's just one of those things where, you definitely want to disclose that so people can understand it. But they gotta, if you tell them that, yeah, you're gonna do a blind study. Well, I guess you can't tell them you're going to do a blind study, but if you're going to tell them we do the research over the effects of, certain medications dealing with heartburn. And if you have one group that's taking heartburn medication, another group that's taking a placebo, okay, that's different than deception of telling people, okay, we're going to do some involvement with a particular product of shampoos, and some people are getting the shampoo and some people are getting just a natural substance that's not even a shampoo. Like, I know that's a terrible example, but those are things that you want to make sure that are clear cut, so that the risks are not only prevalent, but that they're easily noticeable. So the review board can definitely, again, maintain the trust of the research and the validity of that research. Apologize for rambling. I thought this information was really, really cool. I wanted to jump on it right away. Again, those two examples was the exempt protocol application for Boise State, as well as a social behavior protocol application from Northwestern University. So yeah, any questions, comments, or concerns, please get at me. Thank you.